Hi there, Ashland, Oregon. Welcome to Us As We Are. I'm Keegan Van Hook. Tonight, we're going to be speaking with an anonymous guest about the growing anti-mask sentiment that exists in our community and its alleged connection to ideologies of hate. Our anonymous guest is somebody that we actually met while doing our usual street coverage and wanted to interview, but they would only agree if we were able to provide a format wherein their identity could remain hidden for reasons of protecting their safety. So, anonymous guest, why don't you introduce yourself however you feel comfortable and sort of describe your role in the community?
Well, I choose to remain anonymous for a myriad of reasons. When it comes to the protest, I recognize how easy it is for people in the protest community to attach a name and a face to protest and make it about that person. And in an effort to discredit that person, they also discredit an action that's taking place that is more valuable in many ways than a personality. When it comes to dealing with Nazis, it's not something that should be taken lightly. Anybody that's dealing with Nazis in their community should be very safe, precautious about their identity, because they are taking photos. And in the case of this particular Nazi, Keith Michael Erickson, he has connections to some more extreme violent groups. So, for my own safety and for the people that I associate with, it's in my best interest, in the best interest of the people that I spend time with, to not make it about me and keep my face hidden and not put myself or anybody else at risk.
So I guess I want to clarify for the audience real quick that when we use the term Nazi, we're not being hyperbolic. We're dealing here with a character who has become well known throughout Oregon and Northern California for being an outspoken, true-to-blood Nazi, card-carrying. He's been, well, you said his name, he's Keith Biome Michael Erickson. We have photos from various profiles that show his, definite allegiance with that ideology. He has, at various points in the past, run for political office here in Ashland on a Nazi or Nazi-affiliated platform. And the real sort of kicker is that he actually had a show on Rogue Valley Community Television for several years called Constitutional Republic Now that was about Zionist conspiracy theories and how there are supposedly globalist Jews trying to take over the world and our communities. So just want to clarify, we're not using the term Nazi in a hyperbolic sense. It is a true-to-blood Nazi.
We propose that, as most people outside of this country already suspect, the terrorist attacks of September 11th were planned, executed, and covered up by the Israeli Mossad with the help of dual citizen American Israelis and their helpers in our government, military, FBI, CIA, and Zionist-owned mass media.
So, getting back to the subject, why don't you tell us about what you've been doing, tell us about the anti-mask group that has formed, and sort of what your interactions with them so far have been.
Yeah, well, I guess it goes back a few weeks ago. There were the first meeting that I was made aware of was happening in Lithia Park outside the band shell, Tuesday, 6 p.m. The group was presented to me as an anti-mask group, and also presented to me as something to be concerned about because there were some known Nazis in the group. Those known Nazis left their meeting and confronted another group of people that happened to be meeting in the park at the same time. Biome was the one leading the pack, and he was taking video footage. He had a face mask in his hand, and he went up to the group and said, "You left your filthy diaper behind. We don't wear these. we're anti-mask. You faggot commies need to take your mask back. There was a black gentleman in that group, and Biome proceeded to say, when he was called out as a Nazi, he looked at the black person and said, Nazi is the new N-word. After that interaction, somebody went over to the meeting place for the anti-maskers with a megaphone and called them out and told them, listen, whoever it was saying this said that they're aware that you're anti-maskers and that you feel like you're being rebels and you feel like you're being persecuted, but COVID is real and you're organizing with a known Nazi. Biome said over and over and over again with a megaphone. And everybody from the group decided to dismiss the person on the megaphone and carried on with their meeting. So that was the first time that Ashland was to have been made aware of this group. And this was the first time that that group was publicly shamed and had to acknowledge because there was a megaphone telling them that they had a Nazi in their group. Since then, they have not disassociated. They've continued organizing with this Nazi.
So what actions have you sort of been taking? I know you're doing video recordings of your interactions with the members of this group. Can you sort of explain what actions you've been taking?
Well, there's been, since that incident at the park, there was a rally the following Saturday. Nobody made it in time to say anything or confront the group, but people were made aware that this rally was happening. That was Saturday at 12, right there on Main Street, right outside the plaza. They have consistently been out there for 3 weeks now, I believe. They had a meeting the following Tuesday, and they were infiltrated. The infiltrator heard everything that was discussed in the meeting. They were making plans to do actions in the town of Ashland. They want to go into supermarkets with their masks off and essentially wage bio warfare on the city of Ashland. Biome seems to be a leader in this group. He's steering them towards a extreme right agenda. In that meeting, he said, "Hail Trump, hail our people, hail victory," and other people went along with it. There's many photos of this group at that meeting, and they were confronted in a nonviolent way at their following rally the next Saturday. Interviews were taken. They were given an opportunity to disassociate from Biome. They were given photos and captions about Biome's history, photos of him bragging in the caption about stealing a Black Lives Matter banner, having a picture of Hitler above the banner, his friend Jimmy White giving a salute, a Nazi salute. So it's an image that is pretty undeniable. It's a Nazi photo. Biome is bragging about being a Nazi, and this is a person that he is organizing with up in Eugene. So the photo is taken with an organizer from Eugene, a known Nazi, that is organizing anti-mask rallies in the Safeway parking lot in Eugene. It's been covered by the Eugene newspaper. The image of Jimmy White and Keith Michael Erickson, Biome, together has since been taken off the Facebook after that interview. The interviews that happened at that rally the day after they were shown the photo, the leader was there, Swan, long-haired gentleman.
Is he pictured in that video?
He's in that video. He doesn't say anything. A local musician was in the interview. He said that Black Lives Matter is commies, refused to disassociate from Biome. All of them walked off, and there was an interview taken with a female from the group, Angelica, and she acted like she didn't know about their planned actions to go into the supermarket. But she also later acknowledged that she was at the meeting, and there are photos of her sitting pretty much right behind Biome. So the actions that were planned to go into the supermarkets, when I asked her if she heard about the Hail Trump, Hail Our People, Hail Victory, she denied ever hearing that, but she was there for the whole thing. So, we're dealing with people that lie not very well, and people that refuse to disassociate has been the first interaction.
Going to disassociate from Biome, a known Nazi. And if you're proud to be marching side by side with Biome.
I disassociate myself from anyone who's involved with Black Lives Matter because they're communists and Marxists.
Okay. Well, what about working with a known Nazi?
I don't agree with Nazis.
But you know Biome's a Nazi because I just showed you the photo. You do know who he is. He's been at the last two meetings that you have had at the park at 2 p.m. on Tuesdays.
The park is a public place.
Why don't you show your face if you're so proud of yourself?
You already did. The park is a public.
Can I have your names?
I know you.
I know who you are. So you guys don't want to disassociate with Biome. Make a public disassociation. Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, you know what? Let me tell you. You know why I met them today? You know why I met
Why?
them? Because I saw people taking all these videos, and they weren't people that were okay people. They were people that I saw marching for and defacing buildings. And I saw them come to the park and hang out and start taking movies. And some of the license plate that I followed them to from people from even California.
Uh-huh.
So, these people are peaceful.
They're actually planning on going into supermarkets with masks off as a group. They're planning on making a joke of the pandemic. They're planning on doing direct actions and running to markets, flash mob style, with no masks on in the town of Ashland. From their last meeting in the park in front of the band shell on Tuesday.
That's not true.
Yes, it is absolutely true. You can ask them. And they are with a known Nazi. A known Nazi.
I want to see a picture of this known Nazi. I saw him. He came up and pretended he wanted to join. And he started taking pictures of everyone.
Okay.
So, it's unfortunate that people aren't being educated enough of what's going on behind the scenes. That aren't really, every time there's a doctor.
You said that there's been somebody that gave you a Nazi pamphlet.
I don't know. All I know is I opened it and I started seeing Hitler. I threw it away. It was a yellow sheet of paper.
What did the person look like that gave it to you?
I thought he was kind of not that tall and a little heavy set guy, older guy.
And this was at the rally last Saturday?
Yeah, but nobody knew who he was.
Okay. Were you at the meeting that just happened on Tuesday?
Yeah, just last
Do you remember
Tuesday.
the fellow that was saying, Hail Trump, Hail Our People,
No.
Hail Victory?
No.
Okay, well that was Biome, Eric Michelson.
No, I didn't hear.
Is his real name?
Maybe I wasn't there yet, but I didn't hear that.
All right.
No.
Yeah.
Because people, they have a rule that you don't wear any masks. You don't wear any political statements. It's not about politics. It's about you have a right, to wear a mask. If you feel that is where your education level has taken you. I don't feel I have to wear a mask. I've been all over. My 91-year-old mother's been all over, but she's never had a vaccine and she's never had pharmaceuticals.
Would you go as far as what they've been talking about doing, is to go in as groups and flash mob markets with no masks on?
I don't believe in any kind of violence at all, and neither do they. I wouldn't hang out with them.
But at their last meeting, they did discuss going in as groups.
Well, I'll ask them because I never heard a word about that.
How do you find out about these meetings?
I was walking, and they were peacefully here last Saturday when I went to the market.
And they invited you to the meeting?
No, I walked up and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And so they invited me. Okay. They said, "Hey, you can come if you like," and I'd say, "Yeah, I'd like to know because I have a lot of research behind me. Doctors, biochemists, physicists. I mean, you name it. I already know."
If you knew there was no Nazis in your group, would you want them out of your group?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There was a couple people that they were told they couldn't come back, that they could not be a part of it.
Well, we know Biome. I've shown you the picture.
See, my dad and my uncle.
He's been ran out of Williams for his Nazi propaganda.
Good.
So
Good.
Can I get your name for the record?
Let me tell you something, though.
Can I get your name for the record?
Yeah, I will. Hold on, once I get yours too. My dad and my uncle grew up in Austria when Hitler was coming into power. They were young boys. They were talking about how Hitler created what he did, the conformity. They said how dangerous it was, how they were brainwashing the kids going into schools. He said by the time they figured it out, it was too late. Mm-hmm. So that is my concern about America, right? It's my concern about America that everybody has the right to not have all this censored media, to be able to see the truth, because what are they doing right now? They're showing all the more cases and more cases. It's scare, right? It's all scare, more and more. And instead of showing you, why don't you look at the decline?
Okay.
Why don't you look at the people that have died
I'm not here to. I'm not going to argue with you about the numbers or anything. We just want to talk to each individual and make sure that they want to disassociate with known Nazis.
Well, of course, don't you?
That's what we're doing as a community, trying to get the Nazis out of our neighborhood. It's fine, however you guys want to assemble and talk about these things.
But if he's coming from Eugene.
He's not from Eugene. He's here. He's organizing up in Eugene with another known Nazi.
Where's he from?
Here, Ashland.
Oh, I thought you said he wasn't. Okay.
No.
So he's from Ashland.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's got a long history here.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I just get your name for the record?
My name's Angelica. Yes.
What is it? Angelica? Last name?
What's your name?
These people are dangerous, so I'm not giving my name right now. But I'm giving. You're giving. I'm trying to get you guys away from them. Okay.
Well, you know what? There's a guy that was in the group that was packing a gun legally, and he was told not to come back.
Did he have suspenders on?
No.
An older guy?
No.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's like, that's not what we're here for.
Okay.
We're not here. And I said, well, why would you pack a gun? Because you're looking for trouble, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's not the first time somebody's packed a gun at the meeting last Tuesday. There was somebody with a gun and a few people with knives.
That's exactly right. That's where I saw him.
Yeah.
He wasn't here, and they told him not to come back.
Okay.
So,
that's good.
As long as they're peaceful, and I told them when I talked to them later, I said, if people like that are going to be a part of your group, I don't want anything to do with it. Because this is a powerful time right now on the planet that... You saw what? You saw him down by the tree?
The sign.
Oh.
Somebody left.
Oh, okay.
Are you with the anti-maskers too?
Huh?
Are you with the anti-maskers as well? There's a known Nazi in your group, Biome?
No, I don't know anything about that.
Well, I could show you proof that he is in your group. We're trying to get you guys aware if he was in your group.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for your help.
What's his name?
Biome? If you want to pull over here really quick, I can show you some photos. There's a spot right there.
From that interview that you took, what do you make of that woman, Anne, who you talked to? Because in the video you ask her if she knows about the Nazi connection in the group, and she says no, and then when asked about the pamphlets that she received, she says she threw them away, etc., etc. Do you feel like she was being truthful, or do you feel like she was lying to try and sort of get out of the hot spot?
Well, there was a part of me that wanted to feel like she was being truthful and that she genuinely didn't want to associate with Nazis, but looking back on the video, she lied multiple times. So at this point, it's really hard to trust and believe these people. However, she was noticeably not at the next meeting. Neither was anybody that was in that first video, including their leader, Swan. So I don't know what's going on the inside, but I do know that nobody from that first video showed up to the second meeting, or the third meeting, I believe it is.
So then let's fast forward to the video that you shot yesterday, Tuesday the 11th. Before we go into that, could you kind of provide some context for that video, like what happened right before and where you were and what time it was, etc.?
Right. Well, so unfortunately, this group is pretty organized, and they show up on time, and they have pretty consistent meetings, which is more than I could say for people that are organizing for Black Lives Matters and things that I would want to show up on time for. Which is concerning. So yeah, it was a pretty safe bet that they were going to be same place, same time, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Sure enough, they were. We saw Jason Marchese, who has been responsible for storming the synagogues here in Ashland with Biome, showing up at the meeting first, and then the rest of the folks trickling in after. We were prepared to shoot a video. The whole point of shooting the video was to give the group an opportunity, once again, to disassociate from a known Nazi. And we had flyers ready, color flyers, double-sided. It was very obvious who the person was that was on the flyer. No mistaking it. Unfortunately, $10 were spent on this Nazi.
Cost of printing. You mean?
The cost of printing, yes. Yes. Fortunately, the local print shop gives a discount for people that are doing things around Black Lives Matter, so thanks to the local print shop for helping with this. Yeah, so the flyer was brought into the meeting first. The person that brought it into the meeting came in saying, I have some chemtrail information, because we thought that would be more palatable for the group to take the flyer.
Interesting tactic.
Yeah. It didn't work. I think they knew that something was going on because there's been quite a few interactions. And so I think that they knew that something was happening that day, was going to happen that day. And I believe Biome was completely prepared. And hence the reason why he's so calm in the video. He brought his megaphone, just in case. But when he saw things going in his favor, where everybody was sticking up for him, I think he chose to just be a soft Nazi and not get on the megaphone. So the flyers were brought into the meeting, and then I came in and put them on the spot. And for a spiritual hippie-esque community, they were quite confrontational. Considering we were in a public park, them demanding that I leave isn't very reasonable, because anybody can walk into a meeting in the park at any time. Anybody that's had a meeting in the park is well aware of that. You know, a drunk can walk in and destroy the whole meeting. So I didn't feel out of my rights to walk into a meeting in a public place. Planning to do nothing confrontational, not to call any names, just stick with the facts. And it wasn't name calling. We know this person's a Nazi. This person brags about it. This person has no problem identifying himself. It's a National Socialist.
Hey. Flyers are being distributed. Nobody wants to have a flyer from Biome? You have a known Nazi in your group?
You know what? This is not okay, actually.
It's not okay to have a Nazi in your group. I agree.
It's not okay. Why are you acting like a Nazi then? This, you know, I understand.
This man is a known Nazi.
I understand.
There you go.
I understand. We don't need to go there.
You're already there. You're organizing with a known Nazi.
Great. You have judgment on somebody that's in the group.
Read the
Great.
flyer.
Real original. Real original.
This is an opportunity to disassociate and kick the Nazi out of your group.
Cool.
This man's a Nazi too.
Hey, I'm genuinely curious because
Ask him yourself.
No. I want to. I've met this person.
Ask him yourself. Ask him. Are you National Socialist? Is that not a photo of you posing up in Eugene with Jimmy White after you stole a Black Lives Matter banner with Hitler?
Oh my God.
Giving the Heil Hitler?
All right, brother.
Okay.
Are you a communist?
You know where these conspiracy
We're far more concerned with freeing Jackson County
rabbit holes lead you, right? Right into the Nazi propaganda machine.
You don't look black. Are you black?
Who are you?
Who are you?
What's your name?
What's your name?
Are you proud to be with a Nazi? Are you willing to disassociate?
Are you proud to be using Nazi tactics?
Are you a communist?
You're a Nazi.
Do you want to confront him or not?
We know all about this, brother.
So you're all fine with organizing with a known Nazi?
We don't like
You're
communists.
using Nazi tactics, brother.
This is a public park.
Yeah, but you're using Nazi
It's a
tactics.
public park.
Park, but you're welcome.
Is it true that you guys want to take your masks off and go into markets in town?
What is your mask?
Huh? Is it true that you all want to go into markets in town with your mask off? You want to do bio warfare on the town of Ashland? Go ahead, Biome. Tell them you're a proud Nazi. Come on, Biome. Why don't you tell them about your Nazi ideals?
That is not okay.
Beat it, commie.
It's not nice to do that.
Everybody's okay with a Nazi in your group.
Not nice.
I love him.
Everybody here in Ashland is okay with a Nazi in your group. Because it's not going to look too good. It's not going to look too good to the community of Ashland when nobody's making a stand against a Nazi. No, this is a public park. Don't touch me.
Get away from
Don't
her.
touch
Get
me.
away from
Don't
her.
touch me.
I'm not touching
No,
you.
we won't interfere.
Just going to ask you to leave, brother. Thank you. We got your message. We know all about it, so we're going to ask you to leave. Are you going to stick around or are you going to leave?
Tested positive.
Do you own this park?
Call to order. Yeah, that's the thing. Let's just do our thing.
You don't own the park.
No, it's public
It's a
space.
public place.
I'm asking you to leave.
That's fine. You can't ask me to leave. I haven't done anything
I'm
wrong.
asking you, disrupting
But
the
you
public
all have
event.
done something wrong because you're associated with a Nazi.
You're a communist.
And that hippie over there is coughing in my face.
Wrong in your opinion.
What's the name of the lady that just coughed in my face, for one?
Kind of on rights.
Let's continue on with the meeting and
Okay, guys.
tell them to leave. Ask them to leave politely.
You're acting pretty calm today, Biome.
I'm always calm.
No, you're not always calm.
Be gone.
You're not always calm.
Be gone.
Why don't you do a little Nazi hail salute right now, huh? Are you in hiding right now? Huh?
Paper beats rock.
Let's hear it, Biome. Come on. Let's hear some of that great anti-Jewish propaganda. You know you're ready to say it.
I'm an Ashkenazi Jew, and I want you to fuck off and stop harassing this person. We're not interested in your bullshit. Go the fuck away.
Jewish.
You just have to. If you're Jewish, take the flyer. He's a Nazi.
You don't know what I'm talking about, brother.
He doesn't like Jews.
That's just a
He
simplistic
hates
label.
Jews. He
That's
wants
like
to
a
exterminate
comic book
them.
version of nonsense.
He wants to exterminate them.
You are shaking in your body, bro.
I just got coughed
You
on.
are shaking.
Black Lives Matter. I'm Jewish, okay? I will sit down and talk to anybody.
Well, keep
but
your
you
distance
won't,
from me.
because you know what you are?
Keep your
You're a
distance from me.
racist. You're a
Keep your
racist.
distance
You're a
from me.
Black Lives Matter, aren't you?
Keep your distance
Black
from
Lives
me.
Matter don't matter to Black Lives Matter, does it? Does it?
What do you got in your
Does it?
hand? Put the knife away.
You idiot.
Put your
It's a
knife
phone.
away.
Phone.
All right, fine.
Yeah, nice
Fine.
move. Yeah. I'm
Fine.
gonna get you too. Let's record you, motherfucker. Let's record you.
What's your
You're a
name?
funny guy. My name is you.
Okay.
Black Lives Matter. That's my name.
All right.
That's my name. Black Lives Matter.
Okay.
Black Lives Matter is my name.
Okay.
Why are you such a dick? You should be ashamed of yourself. You know what you're talking about.
We're not here to
Here you are.
be angry or
You're looking at your
instigate or hurt
camera,
people.
watching Jews hold hands with Nazis.
I see a hippie that just coughed in my face.
I will call.
That's holding hands with.
So, after having watched that, throughout it, during the confrontations, and pretty quickly, they start trying to turn the Nazi accusation around on you. You're going into this group with this information about Biome being a Nazi and trying to inform the rest of them of this fact. And pretty quickly, they come at you with, you're a Nazi, or one of them said, you're using Nazi tactics right now, etc., etc. Why do you think they perceive it that way, or why do you think they're turning that accusation around on you?
I don't understand it. I don't think they're very smart people. They could have said something a lot more spot on, but the fact that they chose to call me a Nazi just doesn't make any sense. A communist, a Marxist. I think that's. I'm not up on the conspiracy. I don't read QAnon, but I'm assuming that they're getting a lot of their talking points and their name calling straight off their conspiracy websites.
Yeah, they also do call you a communist throughout it. They're using the term, you're Black Lives Matter, you're a communist, quite a lot throughout it. I wanted to ask you, are you a communist?
I am not a communist.
What would you describe yourself as?
I'm just going to leave that open-ended right now. Yeah, but I am definitely not a communist, and I am not a Marxist, and I am not a Nazi, and George Soros has not paid me. I'm still waiting on the check.
Right on. So, in the video, probably the most notable part of the video that you provided us anyway, is when that one girl, I think she was wearing blue or green, kind of classical hippie style, she gets up in your face and she coughs right in your face, in a way that to me looked a lot like she was trying to scare you away. How did that affect you?
Her coughing in my face, I am so grateful that I had an N95 mask on. What she did was an assault. I am not one to call the cops, but what she did was, in this time, in this period, with what's going on with COVID, it was one of the most disgusting acts I've experienced in my lifetime. If she's to give me COVID because of that, and I'm to give that to somebody else, I can never forgive her. I can never forgive her. And she not only coughed in my face, but the person I was with wasn't wearing an N95, and we have video footage of this. Her coughing directly in his face, and when that wasn't enough, she got up close and got behind the side of the mask and coughed into his mouth. And the group hugged her and embraced her and tried to talk her down and tried to tell her that, you need to be nice to this person. This person just has a lot of trauma in his life or something like to that regard, and took her in and tried to calm her down and let her know how much she's loved. She just assaulted two people. This isn't a person that you welcome back into the group. This is a person that, you address right away. Like what happened was not okay. It's bioterrorism.
Right. I guess it should be mentioned that this is obviously not the first incident in the U.S. where, somebody has coughed in another person's face. And in other situations, it has been labeled as assault by judges. So I would say it's legitimate to want to label it as that.
Right. But what's unique about this incident is we're really used to seeing Trump supporters doing the whole coughing thing. Now we've stepped into a new arena, and we have woke hippies coughing like right-wing extremists in people's faces.
How do you think that happens, where we get these two ideologies, like the woke hippie types, and then the right-wing extremist quasi-Nazi, or in this case sometimes a full-on Nazi? How do you think that those two ideologies find themselves sort of in bed together here over this anti-mask thing?
Well, for the most part, hippies and spiritual people don't have politics. Their lifestyle is very self-serving. Whether it's the spiritual people that are meditating or doing a cleansing, paying for a retreat, it's all about taking care of oneself. There's nothing about taking care of the community. Collective welfare is not part of their agenda. The hippies are hedonists. They want to party. And now what's happening is in an arena where you are able to get away with saying love and light, everything's positive, that's fine if you can hop on a plane and go to Maui, but you can't hop on a plane now. You can't avoid what's happening in this country. The protests are marching through your neighborhood. COVID is not allowing you to have an ecstatic dance. You can't hop on a plane and go to India and culturally appropriate people's lives. And I think they're very frustrated. And rather than being responsible and being concerned about the collective, they don't know how to do that. All they know how to do is take care of themselves. So they're going to have underground parties, and they're going to find anything that will sort of affirm their lifestyles and try to come up with a way to continue doing their lifestyles. And the right-wing talking points have totally given them the alibi they need, so they don't have to feel like they are being irresponsible. In fact, they feel like they're more woke than they ever were. They are they have been in this community that dismisses mainstream materialism, which puts them in a position where they don't have to watch the news. It's enough just to say, I feel this way. I feel like COVID's not real. And nobody in their community challenges them. Science is not something that is respected. Science is something that is that inflicts harm on their community as they see it, and they need to go the herbal route. They need to do the pyramid scheme, herbs, whatever it is. So when they see us paying attention to the scientists and getting information from CNN or any of the major news networks, we're seen as people that are just brainwashed. And it puts them in a more entitled position. And they get to feel like they are the vanguard right now. They are the ones that know what's really going on because they watch the right YouTube videos and they listen to their friends and they feel this way and they meditated on it. And so COVID is not real. And their whole love and light mentality, they're not able to do the love and light anymore. And so they've made a little space for a bad thing to be happening. But rather really looking into it they've taken a very simplistic explanation that the conspiracy theories that lead right into the Nazi camp provide for them. And they get to feel now like, you know, they're fighting like some evil Bill Gates, some Jewish bankers. And it always leads into the Jewish conspiracy in the end. Okay, but they feel like now they're warriors. They're going to cough in my face. You know, they know what's going on, and it's such a simplistic understanding of what's going on, and there's nobody actually that they can fight. They're left completely incapable of doing anything because it's just conspiracy BS. Hence the reason why you don't see chemtrail people out on the streets doing anything or doing any actions, or the 5G people. Well, I mean, I guess they did light some towers on fire, but it's an unknown they, a boogeyman. It leaves them in a position where they don't actually have to do anything because there's nothing to do. But the right-wing Nazis, the Nazi camp, is able to totally prey on this community. And since they're not political, and they're mostly white, and they're used to having white privilege, and they're seeing their whole world being shooken up by this Black Lives Matter movement, they're very susceptible to these extreme ideologies, and we're witnessing it firsthand in the city of Ashland.
So I noticed that when you're talking about the hippies and their relationship with the Nazis, that you almost sort of see them as, in a way, kind of a victim, like the Nazi, as you mentioned, the Nazis are preying on the hippies' susceptibility. Is that it in your view?
Yeah, they're preying on it, and I don't think the hippies and the spiritual people are victims. I've been watching them do nothing for decades, and it's frustrating as hell. You know, the fact that they could be so concerned about themselves and not concerned about anybody else, that they could be actively talking up Buddhism while Buddhists are committing genocide in Myanmar. You know, it's just a matter of turning on the computer and, I don't know, watching Democracy Now! Or Al Jazeera, or just caring enough about somebody besides yourself. I do feel like they are victims to a certain extent, and that's why we're given the opportunity to disassociate from the Nazis that are preying on them right now. What we're seeing is a complete refusal to disassociate from these Nazis, which I find terrifying. I wanted to believe that they would disassociate if they were given the proper information, but I believe they are so far up the conspiracy rabbit hole that I don't even know what they're thinking, what they've created in their minds to justifying continuing working with the Nazis. It's fine. If you want to organize as anti-maskers, go ahead, have your little group, get yourself sick. I don't care. Do not come to the markets, do not wage biowarfare, do not cough in my face. Just go, have your meeting indoors, cough on each other, get sick, whatever. But the fact that they are protecting the Nazis, and these Nazis are very smart and very capable of steering this group in a direction that I do not want to see. I just don't see them as victims anymore. I believe that this is a hate group in the city of Ashland, a full-fledged hate group at this point.
So how I should phrase it differently. Do you have any insights on how they're organizing this group? How they're pulling people in? Are they doing it online, or is it an in-person thing, a combination of both? I
wish I did, but I don't. I do know that they've picked people up off the streets at the rallies. People I've spoke with that didn't even know what they were getting involved in were given a sign. I've talked with them. They said they didn't know when they saw them talking about, I don't know, different things. Hate speech was coming up. They realized that they had just stepped into something that they didn't want to get involved in. And they have told me that they don't want to be associated with that group, and they apologize for having stepped into it. So, other than pulling people off the streets, I don't know how they're organizing. I don't know if they're on Ashland Peeps. I just don't know. It's something that's still trying to figure out.
So obviously the spread of Nazism is a problem. What do you view as being the solution to this problem?
Well, you know, this I don't know the solution to the problem, the Nazi problem, because it's got a long history, and it keeps on popping back up. Once you think it's gone, somebody like Trump gets elected, and they feel emboldened to come back out again. All I know is that if you see it in your community and you can do something, you get better. And I'm surprised that more people haven't. That it's an isolated group that's even done anything. I'm hoping that through this video and getting the word out to people, that maybe people will do something. And the thing is, I don't even think people in this community are going to care so much about the Nazi thing. I think it's going to come down to people caring about their own health and knowing that there's anti-maskers out there that want to come in and cough on their vegetables. That's going to get them upset about this group. And that's a scary thing to think about in itself. I really don't, I think this town, as much as they support Black Lives Matter, as many honks as you get when they're driving down the street, people are very comfortable in their white privilege, white supremacy, because this is a wealthy town. I think the optics are Black Lives Matter, but I think the base of it is that they want to keep the white privilege, and I don't think the Nazi thing is that concerning to them. But we'll see.
So you think the community will probably come together more over the anti-mask quality, or just the denial of COVID, and the willful attempt to sort of flaunt the regulations or protections and go into the stores and do this, as you described it, biowarfare?
I believe so. I hope they prove me wrong, but that's my belief.
So then what's your next action? Or can you even talk about that?
I don't have a next action plan. This is it right here. Okay. This is it, this video.
With that, is there anything else you'd like to add to conclude?
Don't be a Nazi. Don't be friends with Nazis. I know Biome has a history in this town. I know that he's transformed himself many times. He was a hippie, he shaved off his dreads, so the roots of his history is like he was hanging out with this community. People are endeared to him. They try to be like, oh, that's just Biome. Yeah, he's got some kind of out there ideas. He became a Muslim for a short while. When Trump got elected, he became a full-fledged Nazi. He hangs out with Nazis. And it's time to sever your relationships with this person. Completely. I don't care what your history is with him. I don't care if he babysat your daughter. You got to cut connections with this person. You got to let this person know he is not welcome in this community. And it's letting everybody know that thinks that they're going to go down that Nazi rabbit hole and still be able to function in this community and have a job and to have a social life is not going to happen. Let Biome be the example.
Good catch, good catch.
Yeah, that would have been a nightmare.
So hi again. We actually have one more interview from tonight. We have here another anonymous subject with some association with our last subject. And they're going to talk to us about their activities sort of around the Ashland / Southern Oregon white supremacist, Nazi, and anti-mask group. So again, why don't we just start with you sort of introducing yourself in whatever way you want to and describe what your role is in the community.
Right on. Yeah, I would describe myself as an anti-fascist, someone that's been involved with a lot of counteractions, as well as with some direct actions, across the country. I just recently landed here in Ashland, came down from Portland. Actually, funny enough, it's kind of a vacation, and ran into some activities that were going on here and met some of the, shall we say, concerned citizens of Ashland, and heard about, some of the things they were concerned about, and just, while I'm taking a break from some of the more intense things happening in Portland, I figured I'd lend a hand any way I could.
Cool. So our last subject mentioned that you were sort of the initial investigator, let's say, into this anti-mask situation that's going on. Can you tell us about how that sort of started, how you first found out about it, and just sort of the early days of looking into this stuff?
Yeah, I guess I just kind of found out about it, through talking with some of the comrades here, hearing about, some of the situations they've been dealing with, and specifically this Biome character. That seems to be a decently well-known individual, and from what I've seen from him, is pretty dangerous. I've had quite a bit of experience just in anti-fascist work, doxing these guys, trying to get them fired. I've had a little bit of experience infiltrating as well. Non-binary person that was raised and can present very much male. I have the privilege of being white, and being able to kind of put on a straight persona, and infiltrate. I was raised in the South, so it's not so hard for me to speak these guys' language. My parents would be Trump voters and the like, so I don't know, when I got here, I heard that there was an opportunity with being new in town to kind of go into one of these meetings as a new face, and just wanted to hear whatever I could hear. Got some pretty decent intel, and some confirmations about some things that people here already kind of knew, and we worked off that intelligence from there.
Interesting. And so you describe it as infiltration. What exactly does that look like? Like, what form does that take?
Honestly, in this situation, it was as easy as just walking up. They were in a public park, their first meeting, so it wasn't too hard to just act friendly. Fortunately, it seemed like these folks aren't used to organizing under a far-right type of banner, which concerned me as well, because that to me just looks like it's some new recruits for them. And Biome, who I was more concerned about recognizing, an anti-fascist maybe slipping their way in, was mostly distracted with the ego boost he was getting through kind of being able to lead this group. So fortunately, I was able to just kind of fall in and listen in, and rebel.
So what do you make of these people? Like, obviously there's the ones among them who it's well known all over the place that they are like full-on Nazis, not being hyperbolic, for real. But then there's, of course, just the others who are there, and they're much more like the traditional hippie type, people you would not at all expect to be wrapped up in this. What do you make of them? Why do you think they are getting involved in this?
Yeah, so I have a couple different ways to answer that, and I don't want to lose myself too much here, in one way or the other. But, I guess first of all, what would I make of them? At first I was hoping that, maybe this was going to kind of be something to laugh off. And, I'd have to say in my experience as being an anti-fascist in some of the bigger cities in the U.S. and, dealing with some really serious threats, I would put these guys up there a little bit. I see a potential for beyond just showing sympathy to Nazi ideology through some of the rhetoric that we've seen in their private chats that we've intercepted. Seems to indicate that, and just kind of the response from my comrade, or a comrade, what's the word I'm looking for? Confronting these people, it seems as if they're very comfortable with Nazi ideology and with, alt-right ideology, and it doesn't seem like a bunch of people that are just kind of ignorant of the situation. They really do seem to understand that this isn't just an anti-masker thing, that this is a front for them to be able to use to recruit, alt-right individuals. And then, what was your second part of that question again?
Well, it was really just, what do you make of them? Like, why do you think that they're getting involved with?
Right. You had said something about how the hippie folks, and you wouldn't exactly expect them to be a part of this. I don't want to give too much private information, but I'm a traveling kid. I've had an opportunity to kind of, I'm more from the punk background myself, but I've had an opportunity to intermingle with a lot of these, more hippie based societies, and honestly, I don't think that this is anything new. I've heard from a lot of the older punk generation that this has been a problem in the hippie community for a long time, that they've been really susceptible, especially when white fragility is really being questioned right now, and that they're being pressed to be uncomfortable, that this isn't uncommon for the liberal, just love and happiness type of white, cis heteronormative hippie to be able to be a part of. And now that, through COVID and through some other things, they don't get to have their festivals, and, a lot of these, kind of trustafarian, very comfortable white middle-class kids who have never really had to deal with a whole lot of issues before are now having to see, the reality that a lot of marginalized people have had to see in this country for a long time. And so I'm honestly not very shocked. I'm not very surprised that, especially the white cis heteronormative hippies, and some of the younger class that's starting to absorb what these older white cis male hippies are saying. I'm not surprised at all to see them susceptible. What I'm truly concerned about is individuals like Biome and some of his patsies who seem to understand very much the vulnerability of these angry, disenfranchised young white men. And these people are starting to use that as an organizing point. They're starting to use that as an opportunity to recruit new alt-right and young white supremacists, and using this as an opportunity to escalate and to create an us versus them, with BLM and with anybody who they would consider against Trump or against America or against, any of their conservative ideologies.
So I ask this question of your compatriot, but when you go in and you're confronting them, very quickly they come back at you with the same accusation. Well, no, you're a Nazi. A, what's your reaction to that? And B, why do you think they pull that on you?
I mean, my reaction to that is, there's been a popular saying in some of the demonstrations in Portland right now is be water. And I would say the same with that. Let it be water. I mean, that has absolutely no effect on me whatsoever. I'm not I'm not going to say I'm the most educated person in the world, but I certainly understand the basics of political ideology. And for alt-rightists to be calling me a Nazi does not affect me in any way, shape, or form. I guess at the end of the day, this has been a tactic that the alt-right has used since fascism, was put on paper. They like to co-opt, they like to create rhetoric, and they like to use any opportunity they can to get a populist movement, anything, kind of fringe, but has, a base movement to it. And they like to interject themselves into those movements and start to use those symbols and use, those talking points and those hot words, and very quickly will make those movements have a basis in white supremacy. And that's extremely dangerous, because that allows them to gain popular sympathy.
So then, similar question to the last one. Often, as we see in the video taken by your friend, they also really like to whip out the term communist to describe you guys. So I'll ask you the same question. Are you a communist?
I would describe myself as an anarcho-communist. I would challenge, maybe not as many viewers of your whatever this is, but many Americans, don't really understand what communism actually means, and the different forms of communism that are out there. And I would just challenge people to not be afraid of the word communism or socialism or some of these buzzwords that we've taught, in our American education system to be so afraid of, and to give, give any constructed argument that isn't, hey, let's go commit genocide, give that a chance, So, but yeah, I would describe myself as an anarcho-communist.
Could you clarify the definition of anarcho-communist?
If I had about another 120 minutes, probably, but the best way I guess I could put it is that I believe in a stateless society that organizes itself through mutual aid. And specifically that, I'm anti-capitalist, first and foremost.
So jumping back then to the issue at hand, the anti-masking and the Nazis and how they're sort of coming together, what do you see as a potential solution to that problem? I asked your friend a similar question. He kind of answered it in terms of how to fix like Nazism in general, and obviously that's a big problem to fix, but more specifically on the topic of how it pertains to right now and with the anti-mask sentiment, how do you see a path out, either through reconciling with the people who are wrapping up in this, jumping in ahead? What do you think?
So just to kind of use an example from what we've been seeing here, is when some comrades were able to show some folks during a rally, the flyers and say, hey, you're organizing with the Nazi. We actually saw now that these people have split into two very different groups. One group that has distanced themselves completely from the people who have been identified as alt-rightists or as Nazis or what have you, and a group that is very sympathetic and very on board. So I would just suggest that you do the same in your communities. At this point, the best that we can do with them starting to kind of appropriate the hippie movement is try to separate who your true threats are and who, maybe is just about all this anti-masking hippie bullshit. And put it to the side that, yeah, these anti-maskers, they're assholes. They're putting a lot of people in a public safety, issue with this pandemic, but they're not organized white supremacists, right? So try to identify the people in those groups that are obviously either sympathetic or straight up white supremacists. Try to isolate them and start targeting them. And make sure that you divide those groups, divide and conquer in that point. Let anti-maskers go do their stupid anti-masker shit. As much as I hate to say it, that's just kind of part of having a society where we can say whatever we want. But these organized Nazis, identify them and do not let them organize. Whether it be in the term of anti-masker or not, just shut that shit down.
And so with that, is there anything you can tell us about your own next actions or next steps?
Without saying too much, I guess I'm just going to keep an eye on the situation. And we'll absolutely continue to put pressure on these folks as I can.
So then to conclude, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Fuck Trump and Black Lives Matter.
All right then. Well, that was another interview. Thank you again so much for joining us for another slightly different episode of Us As We Are. I do think that this has been a fruitful way to sort of at least dip our toes into an issue here in the community. And I'm pretty certain that we're going to be doing more stuff like this again in the future. And I think on the subject of this story, the only next thing to do is to go in with our cameras and see if we can talk to these people ourselves. So with that, I've been Keegan Van Hook. This has been Us As We Are. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.